Success loves silence. Not because it's secretive or mysterious, but because it needs time and space to grow. Success, like a seed, begins quietly beneath the soil. It doesn't announce itself to the world. It doesn't demand attention or validation. It simply works steadily and silently until one day it emerges, tall and strong, for all to see. And yet so many of us feel compelled to tell the world what we're doing, what we're planning, and how we're going to get there. Why is that? Maybe it's a need for recognition or approval. Maybe it's the thrill of saying, "Look at me, I'm on my way." But here's the problem. The more you talk about your plans, the less energy you have to actually execute them. It's a strange paradox, isn't it? Sharing too much can drain the very momentum you need to succeed. In my years of business and personal development, I've seen this play out time and time again. People with grand ideas and noble ambitions, ideas that could change their lives, talk themselves out of the very thing they set out to do. How? By telling too many people too soon. They expose their dreams to the cold winds of doubt, criticism, and distraction. And before they know it, the fire they once felt has burned out. So today I want to share with you the philosophy of keeping your plans close to your chest, not out of secrecy, but out of wisdom. We'll explore how to cultivate a mindset that values action over words, focus over fanfare, and results over recognition. Because at the end of the day, it's not what you say you'll do that matters. It's what you actually accomplish. Keeping your plans to yourself can be so powerful. There's the subtle relationship between intention and action. Think about it. Every time you share your intentions, your goals, your dreams, your plans with others, you're releasing a bit of that energy. You're giving away a part of the fire that fuels your actions. And in many cases, that fire is better kept contained, stoked in the quiet of your own mind, rather than exposed to the world too soon. One reason is simple. When you tell people what you're going to do, you create an illusion of progress. You say, "I'm starting a new business," or "I'm going to lose 20 pounds." And the people around you nod and smile, maybe even clap their hands in encouragement. It feels good, doesn't it? That sense of approval, that validation. But here's the danger. The mind can mistake that approval for accomplishment. You haven't actually done anything yet, but you've already tasted a little bit of the reward. And what happens next? The urgency to act diminishes. The fire cools. The dream that once seemed so vivid, so full of possibility, starts to feel like something you've already achieved in your mind. So you settle into a state of comfort, and the action, the real, difficult work that makes the dream a reality, gets postponed. This is how dreams die in the cradle of good intentions. Now, some might say, isn't it good to share your plans? Doesn't it keep you accountable? Well, accountability has its place, but only with the right people and at the right time. You see, not everyone who listens to your plans will understand them. Some will question your motives or doubt your abilities. They might not say it out loud, but their skepticism will hang in the air like a shadow over your ambition. And if you're not careful, that shadow can creep into your own thinking. Suddenly, you're second-guessing yourself. You're wondering if they're right, if maybe your idea isn't as good as you thought it was. Now, I'm not saying you should never share your ideas. No, that's not the point. The point is to share selectively, thoughtfully, and only when the time is right. You need to protect your vision in its early stages, like a gardener protecting young plants from frost. Share your plans with people who will nurture them, not trample on them. Seek out mentors or close friends who genuinely want to see you succeed. But even then, keep the details to a minimum. Don't let your ideas become a spectacle before they've had a chance to grow. Here's another thing to consider: the element of surprise. There's a certain power in doing the unexpected, in letting your results speak for themselves. Imagine this: you've been quietly working on a project for months, maybe even years. You haven't said a word about it to anyone outside your trusted circle. And then, one day, you unveil it to the world. A finished product, a completed goal, a shining achievement. The impact is far greater than if you'd been talking about it the whole time, dropping hints and previews along the way. People will marvel at what you've accomplished because it came out of nowhere. It's a reminder that action is always more impressive than words. Years ago, I knew a young man who wanted to start his own business. He was full of ideas and enthusiasm, and he couldn't wait to tell everyone about it. At every opportunity, he'd go on and on about his plans, what he was going to do, how successful he was going to be, how his life was about to change. People listened politely, but over time they started to grow skeptical. Why? Because months went by and nothing happened. The more he talked, the less people believed in him. And eventually, he stopped believing in himself. Contrast that with another man I knew, a farmer from the Midwest. He had a vision to turn his small family farm into a thriving enterprise. But instead of talking about it, he simply got to work. He read books, studied successful farmers, and quietly implemented new techniques. He didn't announce his plans. He let his results do the talking. And when the time came to sell his crops, he shocked everyone with the quality and quantity of his harvest. People asked, "How did you do it?" And he simply smiled and said, "By working when no one was watching." You see, there's a lesson in that. The less you talk, the more time and energy you have to act. The less you seek validation, the more confidence you build within yourself. And the less you share your plans prematurely, the more control you have over your own narrative. It's not about secrecy. It's about strategy. It's about knowing that your dreams are worth protecting and that your actions will always speak louder than your words. How many times have you shared a plan or a goal with someone only to feel the motivation slip away afterward? How many times have you let the opinions of others influence your path? These are important questions because they reveal how much power we give away when we speak too soon. But the good news is, you can take that power back. You can choose to focus on action, to guard your dreams, and to let your success be the thing that speaks for you. The world is full of noise, isn't it? Opinions, distractions, unsolicited advice, they're everywhere. And when you start sharing your dreams too freely, you're inviting that noise into your life. You're opening the door to criticism, doubt, and even envy. These are forces that can derail even the best laid plans if you're not careful. Think about it. When you tell someone about your big idea, how often do they respond with genuine enthusiasm and support? Sometimes they do, but often people respond with caution, skepticism, or even subtle discouragement. They might say, "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Or, "That sounds risky." Or, "I knew someone who tried that and failed." These comments might seem harmless, but they can plant seeds of doubt in your mind. And doubt is a dangerous thing. It can grow quickly and choke the roots of your ambition. But it's not just the doubters you need to watch out for. There are also the envious, the people who resent your ambition because it reminds them of what they haven't accomplished. They might not say it outright, but their subtle negativity can drain your energy just the same. And then there are the well-meaning advisors, the ones who genuinely want to help, but end up confusing you with conflicting opinions and unsolicited suggestions. All of this noise can pull you away from your original vision, leaving you scattered and uncertain. That's why discretion is so powerful. When you keep your plans to yourself, you're protecting your focus. You're creating a quiet space where your ideas can grow, free from the interference of others. It's like building a greenhouse for your dreams, a place where they can flourish in the right conditions until they're strong enough to face the elements. It's important to start building momentum. Momentum is a precious thing. It's the forward motion you create when you take consistent, purposeful action toward your goals. And here's the key. Momentum thrives in silence. When you're focused on doing the work rather than talking about the work, you build a rhythm. Each small step you take reinforces the next. And before you know it, you've made significant progress. But when you start talking about your plans prematurely, you disrupt that rhythm. You shift your focus from action to explanation, from doing to justifying. And every moment you spend explaining yourself is a moment you're not moving forward. It's like trying to drive a car while constantly stopping to show people where you're going. You lose speed, and worse, you lose the sense of purpose that comes from staying in motion. I want to share another story with you, one that illustrates the power of momentum and discretion. There was a friend of mine who decided to write a book. It was a lifelong dream, and he was determined to make it happen. But instead of announcing his plans to the world, he quietly set a goal to write 500 words a day, every day, until the book was finished. He didn't tell anyone what he was doing, not even his closest friends. He just worked day after day in silence. Months later, he finally shared it with a small circle of trusted people. Their reaction? Pure admiration. They were amazed at what he had accomplished, not just because the book was good, but because he had done it without seeking attention or validation. And when the book was published, it was a success, not because of any grand announcements, but because the work spoke for itself. Now, let me tell you about another friend of mine, someone who was equally passionate about writing. But instead of getting to work, he spent months talking about his plans. He'd call with updates, share outlines, and ask for opinions on every little detail. The more he talked, the less he wrote. And eventually, the project fizzled out. Why? Because he spent all his energy seeking approval instead of building momentum. There's a powerful lesson in these two stories. Action breeds confidence, while too much talking breeds hesitation. When you take consistent action, even in small doses, you prove to yourself that you're capable. You build a track record, a sense of accomplishment that fuels your progress. But when you talk too much, you get stuck in the realm of possibilities, what could be, what might be, without ever crossing the bridge to reality. Here's the thing. Some people worry that keeping their plans private makes them seem secretive or aloof. But here's the truth. Discretion isn't about shutting people out. It's about preserving your focus. It's about recognizing that your dreams are precious and that not everyone deserves a front row seat to your journey. Think of it this way. When you're planting a garden, you don't invite the whole neighborhood to walk through the soil before the seeds have sprouted. You protect the ground, you water it carefully, and you wait until the first shoots appear. Only then do you invite others to admire the fruits of your labor. The same principle applies to your goals. By keeping them private, you're not being secretive, you're being strategic. You're giving yourself the space to grow, to learn, and to adapt without the pressure of external expectations. And when the time comes to share your success, it will be all the more powerful because it's backed by real results. So, here's a challenge for you. The next time you set a goal, resist the urge to announce it to the world. Instead, channel that energy into action. Write it down, make a plan, and take the first step, quietly, deliberately, and with full focus. Remember, the goal isn't to impress others with your intentions. It's to impress yourself with your accomplishments. There's something profoundly liberating about moving in silence. It frees you from the weight of external expectations and allows you to operate on your own terms. Think about it. When you announce your plans to the world, you're putting yourself under a spotlight. Suddenly, people are watching, waiting, and maybe even judging. That pressure can be stifling, especially in the early stages of a project when things are still uncertain and fluid. You see, success is rarely a straight line. It's a journey of trial and error, of taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And when you're under the public eye, those setbacks can feel magnified. Every misstep becomes a potential point of criticism, every delay a source of scrutiny. But when you keep your plans private, you give yourself the freedom to fail quietly, to learn from your mistakes without the added burden of outside opinions. This is why discretion isn't just a strategy. It's a gift you give to yourself. It's a way of creating a safe space where you can experiment, grow, and refine your ideas without distraction. And here's the beautiful thing. When you're not seeking approval or validation, you become more connected to your own instincts. You start to trust yourself more deeply, to rely on your own judgment rather than the opinions of others. I know what you're thinking. Isn't feedback important? Don't I need input from others to make my ideas better? And the answer is yes. Feedback is invaluable. But it has to come at the right time and from the right people. Not everyone is qualified to give you constructive input, and not every stage of your journey is the right time to seek it. Early on, when your vision is still taking shape, it's better to focus on the work itself. Once you've made progress, once you've built something tangible, that's the time to invite feedback from people you trust and respect. I once worked with a man who was incredibly gifted at spotting opportunities. He had a knack for seeing potential where others saw obstacles. But he had one fatal flaw. He couldn't stop talking about his ideas. Every time he came up with a new concept, he'd rush to share it with anyone who would listen. And what happened? More often than not, someone else would act on the idea before he did. He gave away his advantage by revealing his plans too soon. Contrast that with another businessman I knew, a quiet, unassuming fellow who rarely talked about what he was working on. He wasn't flashy or boastful, but he had a remarkable ability to execute. While others were busy talking, he was busy building. And when he